My, oh my, why was Tekken Bloodlines even made? Please, please, cue the intro. So just for a quick edit, I'm about to spoil the hell out of this show. You've been warned. So if you haven't seen it, Tekken Bloodlines is a show about Jin Kazama, taken from the Tekken series, based game by, I think it's Namco, Bandai Namco, I think. And the story is kind of like a redid version, a really watered down version of the story that goes through with the games. Now, to sum it up as quick as I could, Tekken Bloodlines is about Jin, who lives with his mom. His mom gets killed by Ogre, which is another character, and then he goes to train with Mishima so that he can compete in the King of Iron Fist tournament, so that Heiichi Mishima can use a pendant to resurrect Ogre to do something with him. If you can't tell, I am really kind of bewildered by this, and this is just I just got done watching it like 20 minutes ago, and now I'm just talking about it because there's only 6 episodes on there, and there's barely anything to talk about. I think the first thing I want to start off by talking about is the art design. So the art design with it is really weird. I think it's 3D. It's like a really strange art design. I know Tekken is used to having more realistic looking characters, which typically I'm totally fine with. However, this version kind of just, they look and they move really stiff and awkward. The fights, yeah, they're kind of cool. They take a lot of like move sets from the characters actually through the games, but when they're not, the way that they move, the way that their head moves looks like, it reminds me if I watched like Red versus Blue and the way that they kind of move, that's how it feels like they kind of move when they're not fighting. All the characters at least look like how they're supposed to for the most part. The only thing that I thought was a little different was that King's eyes, he has the jaguar head and his eyes move as well. I believe King's is just a mask that he wears, so like the eyes wouldn't move, but I mean, that's no big deal. But in terms of the art design, like I said, I'm no art major. I don't really know a whole lot about how animation's supposed to be super fluid and stuff. But when like this just is not, it doesn't look well. Like from what I see, it just looks really stiff from what I see. And from a casual fan's perspective, for the most part, I was like, this is kind of not all that appealing to really work with. And that kind of also just goes with the whole story. Like my summary is the whole story. Like there's really nothing left in there. It's hard to even say that there's spoilers because spoilers would require something to actually mean anything. But it really kind of feels like nothing really ever happens. Throughout the whole thing, you're going through the eyes of Jin Kazama, who is, this kid. He's like a teenager at the first. And he's very, he lives with his mom in these islands and they have him away from everyone. And so her whole thing is like, oh, I need you to control your anger because when you get mad, people can get hurt because you're a Kazama, blah, blah, blah. And then she gets attacked by Ogre, and it's not like an ogre, it's literally just called Ogre. He looks like a big old ancient warrior. And it's really weird because I know Ogre from the Tekken games, and I mean, the one thing I will say that is a positive, and this is one of the few positives I'm going to give with this, is that in Tekken, there's a lot of really stylized moves and stuff. So like when you hit someone, sparks might fly or little special whooshes and stuff go through. And they did bring that in there, which I thought was kind of cool. But getting back to it, yeah, he just pretty much leaves the island and they fight the tournament. I don't know why this show was 6 episodes. I really don't. That is not enough time. You brought in multiple characters from the series. You brought in Ling Xiao, you brought in Hurang, you brought Paul Phoenix, Nina Williams, Anna Williams, who doesn't speak at all. You brought in Kuma, which he's a grizzly bear, but I didn't get to see his fight. That would have been cool. It's a grizzly bear. You brought in all the, and then they just off these characters early on without even us being able to see any of these fights. Part of Tekken is being able to see the tournament. This should have been to see the tournament. That would have been great. that was one of the biggest issues for me, was like once you actually, it flies by the first couple episodes to like we want to get to the tournament, and then the tournament basically ends in like 3 episodes. Not even like, yeah, the first 2 episodes are just getting there. Yeah, the 3rd episode is basically the tournament, 4th episode's tournament, 5th episode's tournament, you know? And so I mean, now you're just left with trying to wrap up everything right at the end. Like, it's like you have, 7+ games of lore and you tried to cram it into 6 episodes, but then you also wanted to do your own thing, and it doesn't work. And that also delves into the characters themselves, because almost every character there's no real 3D to them characters much at all, besides the art design. Like, every character, I mean, Jin is the only one that they try to focus the most on, and you're watching his inner conflict between what his mom says and what his dad says. And it's not like his mom's saying super anything wisdom. It's like, you have to control your anger so you can use it for good. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, sure. And then you have Haiichi, who's like, you must use your anger to use it for being bad. I mean, he doesn't really say that, but he might as well have, because that's pretty much all they get out of it. Like, they try to throw some people in there. Like, they have Ling Xiao, who I think is supposed to be like Jin's friend, but then at the same time, it's like they're like, oh, we're in high school, like we were in high school together. Cool, because like all I saw were you guys walking to school, and that was about it. And then him and Hurang supposed to have this kind of rivalry, and all it is like, I want a rematch, and then that's really it for their rivalry. Like, there's nothing to these characters at all. Paul Phoenix is in there, and Paul Phoenix is actually one of my favorite characters. And there's nothing to him. Like, there's nothing at all. Nina Williams is in it. Nothing at all. Anna Williams doesn't talk. Leroy Smith, which I thought was really interesting, having him in there. He doesn't really do anything. Like, he's in there in the first cut, maybe 10 minutes total of the whole show, and then he's gone. And then, like, you have other characters like Julia. She's in there for a tiny bit, and that's pretty much it. King's in there for a little bit, and that's pretty much it, and once you get to the final bit, they all just kind of disappear. Like, so oh man, as a show, it really blows my mind that you could kind of botch this badly. And as I was watching it, I'm trying to think to myself, like, how would I redo this? How would I change this and stuff? And the first thing that I thought of off the top of my head was to extend the show. I mean, you can have moments where you're showing Jin training with Hayachi. That montage is totally fine. It's only like an episode long, but it'd be nice to see a bit more training and him kind of struggling more to do stuff in an extended way. I don't need it to be Naruto long, but just showing a little more than just like a 1980s montage, and that's it. And then, show more of them hanging out, like showing why that Hurang is a rival and a friend, and Zayu's a rival and a friend, because otherwise it's just like main character, side character, and girl. And like, that's pretty much it. You don't really get much else to it. And that kind of sucks. Hayachi Mishima is just, I'm bad because I'm bad, which I don't need like this big sympathetic character. I think Hayachi's kind of always been that way, so in some regards I'm fine. I've always liked Nina Williams too. I thought she was always super cool. And Steve Fox is in there too. Yeah. Like, they show him early on and then he just disappears out of the show. Like, it's actually quite crazy. Same with Craig Marduk. Craig Marduk's in the show as well, and yeah, he's gone. So man, this show is straight up butt cheeks. And I was gonna go with how I'm gonna fix this show, but I mean, it's just basic storytelling in my eyes. You need to focus on the characters. Why should we give a shit about Jin? I mean, besides the fact that, it's Jin Kazama, but in reality, why should I give a shit about Jin? Because there's really nothing to care about. He's just like a bad, great value version of like early Shippuden Sasuke. So like, I just really wish he was more, because I actually do like Jin, and they always hint at his dad, like, oh, you're just like your father. Cool, because you keep telling me that he's a horrible person, and then you just don't ever show him doing anything horrible, except for the fact that he beat Hayachi's ass, which was, whatever, because Hayachi's also an ass, so it kind of just feels warranted. It's kind of like if you were watching Dragon Ball and like Vegeta just started beating the shit out of Frieza, and like you're like, well, I mean, yeah, Vegeta's bad, he's kind of an ass, but like Frieza's just a bigger ass, so I don't really know if I'm supposed to feel bad or be like, oh my god, he's a terrible person. Like, bruh, you're also a terrible person. I think at the end of the day, this show is just not very good. And it sucks because I don't know if there's gonna be a second season at all. But you have to do more than this. You seriously have to do more than this. And one other thing too is like the voice work wasn't awful, but I know, they're trying to match the voices and stuff, or like the mouth movements. But Hayachi's voice always bothered me because like he's talking like those, like, you watch those old Asian movies and he's just like, you must be better than what you are. And I'm just like, wow, they really are going in on it. And I don't remember if maybe Hayachi actually just talks like that in the games, but I just don't remember. I don't think he does. So like, it just always kind of bothered me. And like, a lot of times it's just watching him talk just irritated me. And I like Hayachi. I think he's an absolute monster. And it was annoying. But I appreciate you listening, you watching. If you could, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for all the, videos and stuff. I'm trying to be more consistent in putting up my videos. And with all that, I'm Taylor from RufandRuleMedia, trying to just get this show out of my head. Maybe go watch something actually worth watching. I think my next show I'll probably start looking at might be like 7 Deadly Sins or maybe like Bastard or something. I don't know. But anyways, I'll talk to you guys in the next one.